Today I'm planning to talk about positive communication with children. What is communication? Expressing what we wish to convey to somebody in a way somebody understands it the way we intend them to is communication. Basically, there is a person who gives the communication or instruction, and then there is this person who understands it the way we want them to understand. But I see there is a lot of challenge today in the communication adults have with children. How should our communication be? First, let's understand that children are learning the world through the adults around. They are keen in observing how the adults speak and how the adults behave, how the adults communicate, and that is how they pick up various things from us. Now, as parents or teachers, whenever we talk to children, what is very important? The first thing is having eye contact. I see in some kindergarten schools, the teacher is standing so tall and the child is so small, and the teacher is looking at the child like this and speaking. The child is literally looking up at the teacher. One is it strains the neck of the child, and the child will never be able to communicate the way he or she wants to communicate. So let's always remember that as parents or teachers, we need to have eye contact with the child, and we need to go down to the level of the child, especially if the child is very young, very small. Kneel down, come down and talk to the child. An important thing is to have proximity with the child. When we are talking to somebody, we need to be closer to them so they feel important. I see many parents today working on a laptop or over a phone, simultaneously talking to the child or talking to the child from a different room. They are busy doing something in another room and they're talking to the child. I don't call that as talking to the child. That is only maybe instruction giving. Just saying do this, do that, don't do this. But that is not communication at all. It is one-sided. It does not guarantee that the other person listening to us has understood it. Any one-sided communication does not help in proper interaction also. Now here, let us understand one important thing when I said positive communication, what I mean by that. I see many teachers today, even parents, keep telling children, don't do this, do this. No, why did you do that? No, this is not the way to do it. You are not supposed to do this. You should only do the way I say. Let's remember that a child who is always told not to do something, don't do this, don't do that, will also develop a complex, inferiority complex about oneself and not even try things. Please remember, every word of what we are speaking to the child is acting on the mind of the child. When I say, instead of saying, don't run, hey, don't run, we can say, can we walk, dear? That is the positive way of conveying the same message. Now, when you say don't run, please check, does the child come to know what else he should do instead of not running? Suppose we say, don't scream. When you say don't scream, is there a message going about what else the child should do? No. Instead of giving negative messages, if we say, why don't we speak gently instead of screaming? Now, when I said, why don't we speak gently, please mark the word we. Instead of telling the child, you should do this, you should do that, why not we say, let's do this? An inclusive language, either at home or classroom, brings in a beautiful relationship development between the adult and the child. So in the class, if you're a teacher, rather than saying, you should all be quiet, you can probably try saying, let's all be quiet, let's all try to speak gently. This makes the child or makes the children feel that we are also a part of the same team. So inclusive language brings about a lot of changes, positive changes in the relationship with children at home or at your schools or colleges. Now, something very interesting strikes us when we talk of communication. I would like to tell you a very small anecdote or an incident here. See, something that we'll all have to ponder over. When we see elephants tied in front of the temples, the huge elephants, sometimes chained, or there is a rope tied to one of the legs of the elephant, and this huge mammal is standing there, and it's just a thick rope or a chain. Now, have you not wondered many times, an elephant which can actually knock down a huge tree effortlessly, can't the same elephant break itself free from the chain that it is tied with, or a rope? It's nothing for a huge elephant. But then what makes this elephant stay captivated there in front of the temple? Now, when we speak to the Mahouts, we'll come to know that there is a very unique practice they have, where when this huge elephant was a small calf, it was tied with a thick rope. The rope is such that the elephant calf tries to break itself free because it believes that it can break free, and it keeps constantly trying. But then what happens? Mahout keeps telling, no, you can't break yourself free from this. This is too strong for you. You will never be able to do this. And please mark this, the calf is nurtured and reared, constantly telling it that it is not going to be able to break itself free from the rope or the chain. So what does the elephant calf start growing up with? The belief that it will never be able to break itself free. The same is true of our children. If we keep saying, no, you will not be able to do that. No, you will not be able to swim. You are very weak. You are a premature child. You will not be able to do that. No, don't go out in the cold. You will catch cold and you will have pneumonia. Please look at what you are doing to the child. We are conditioning them because children believe our words. The day we are telling them that you will not be able to do something, they start believing us. So positive communication is one where we say whatever we intend to say in a positive way, which does not mar the development of the child. Suppose we want to tell the child not to go out in a rough weather. Instead, we can say, why don't you wrap yourself up warm so that when you go out, you really are safe. Instead of saying, no, don't go out. We are not giving them a reason. We are not giving them the logic for what we are saying. So communication is going to be beautiful only when we first think what to speak and how to speak. See, it's interesting that as children, we took about a year or two to learn how to speak. But we take a lifetime to understand what to speak, when to speak, and what not to speak. So with children, let's always be cautious about the kind of words we use. Screaming at a child, the child will never walk up to us and speak to us. So being gentle with children, and also let's realize that we are handling children of a different generation. They are the Gen Zs or the millennials who are not necessarily like us. We belong to a different generation. Our ways do not match with their ways. So we have to first remember that we need to respect the children for what they are. Today I see many parents and teachers complaining, ma'am, these kids don't respect us. They back answer, they argue, they are very loud, and they scream at times at adults. But let me tell you, if we look at the whole story only from the adult point of view, who's going to look at the story from the child's point of view? Children need to be respected for their individuality. They have a different version as well. They need to be understood. So the simplest thing is to first respect any person or a child we are talking to. Let's have the basic courtesy of having eye contact with the person or the child, sitting down calmly, especially when there is a problem. Why children yell or argue is when they feel that we are not fair. We do not give them the due respect or attention that they deserve. And in schools I see Children are labeled as bad students, arrogant students, irresponsible students. Children are not born as arrogant, irresponsible, or bad children. They're all born beautifully with all the potentials that anyone else can have. But what could make a child bad is bad parenting. It could be a bad mother or a bad teacher who does not give what the child requires. So as adults, it's important that we become responsible and understand how we need to have communication with our children. Last but not the least, I would only like to say that it's not what we tell children that they're going to learn from. They're going to model us. They're going to observe us. They're going to learn from our body language, our gestures, our informal communication. So let's start correcting ourselves. Let's be reflective about our practices. The way I speak is what my child picks up from me. The way the child starts getting exposed to is also very important. So let's be watchful about the kind of exposure we provide to our children. So I would only say communication is the key for establishing any relationship, be it with a child or any other adults around us. So let's watch our words. Let's mean what we speak. Thank you so much.